started. Okay.
Not a problem. I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's working. Okay. So everything started in 2019, and that was the year I made that decision with our boss, Łukasz Franek, that, okay, I step over and somebody else will take the responsibility for the bicycle politics. And I was the one who has to do something about that mess. In front, that's the mess, that was the mess in 2019 in front of our buildings. Unfortunately, the companies who are offering e-scooters, they were just, like invading all the cities, big cities in Poland. So Krakow was one of them. As you can see, pedestrians or passengers of the trams or public transportation, they could barely walk on the space where they're supposed to be, yeah, and that wasn't safe. So we contacted all the companies and we start talking to them, and it wasn't the easy conversation because the problem in Poland was that the e-scooter was completely unregulated. Police as a force, yeah, they could actually, like, in my opinion, they should force all the companies, or they should interpret that vehicle is a moped or scooter, but not e-scooter in terms of like a motorcycles, small motorcycles. So in Polish law, it will require to have a license plate, and the user is supposed to wear a helmet. But unfortunately, police, they decided, because they didn't know what to do, and their interpretation was that people who used e-scooters are pedestrians, and that was the big problem for the cities, like for us as a city officials, because we couldn't do anything, because okay, if that vehicle is, or the person who is using it is a pedestrian, so that the space where they park the e-scooters is a sidewalk, but not in that manner. So we start talking to them, and that was the invasion of Bolt and Tier. But they weren't cooperating; they were actually competing. But you can see what happens, and that's the city center of Krakow in 2019, and then in 2020. So it took us a year, like regular meetings, to come to the conclusion that we signed the document, which was just a voluntary agreement of cooperation. And unfortunately, the national law remained unchanged. I mean, the government, they did nothing. So still e-scooters were undefined vehicles. I was searching for the proper word in my mind. And as Łukasz told me, that the document was more aimed to calming public opinion, as the city did not have the tools to force operators to take certain actions. I was about to say that the whole document was just propaganda hoax, because, okay, we calmed the public just for like a month or two, and then everything started again. And look at what the press was saying. And, they were just saying that, okay, that we do not know how to cope with the e-scooters, and they were like pressing us, to do something about it. And we were always saying, okay, but we do not have a proper tools. We cannot say that, okay, this is your business, and you are not allowed to do that business in Poland because of because you're violating the certain law, because that law didn't exist. So it was really hard for us to do the right thing. We waited almost one more year, and in May in 2021, the new regulations finally come along. I mean, the government, they changed the law, and they defined what the e-scooters are. And as you can see, that's an electrically powered 2-axle vehicle with a steering bar without a seat or pedals. And this is very important, because still on the streets of Krakow and other cities too, you can see something which looks similar to e-scooters, but it has a seat. but our like police and municipality police, they do nothing about it, and then they should do, because they, you know, those vehicles, they're not supposed to be on the streets. They are illegal. But okay, let's focus on the e-scooters we have. I mean, who are offered by the international companies. Okay, but we have to say something more about the new regulations. So the new regulations about the parking, but they are not very precise, but at least they said, okay, e-scooters has to be parked in a designated spot. We call it mobility hubs, and you will see that later on, that we design them, I mean, plenty of them in the city center. But if there is no city designated space for the e-scooters, you can park your e-scooter parallel to the curb, but farthest from the edge of the road, and you have to leave at least 1.5 meters free space on the sidewalk for pedestrians. So this is the graphic show you where the e-scooter is supposed to be parked. But the new definitions, they were okay, and they still are, but there was no special regulation for e-scooter rental services. Like we, as a city, we were expecting from the government that they give us a law that we can license or start licensing them, like in other big cities in the Western hemisphere or Europe. That, okay, so we decided we have a space, for example, for 4,000 e-scooters in the city, and we give the license on a, you know, like this is gonna be like the same like with the public tender or something like that, but still we don't have that tools. But it's not that bad. That slide is one more time here because, okay, there was new law in 2021, and in 2022, okay, the COVID-19 pandemic helped us a bit because, you know, it was less crowded on the street, less tourists. So the problem with e-scooters was also minor. But when the pandemic ended in like mid 2022, it starts again, and the press was like, you know, like at least once a week or maybe less often, but they were pressing us do something about e-scooters because they're dangerous. People are just, you know, like getting hurt. So finally, in last year in August, at the beginning of the August 2023, we signed the lease agreement with all the operators. There was 3 of them back then. It was Bolt, Lime, and Tier. And as you can see, those are our mobility hubs, just almost right next to the city center. And reaching the agreement, of course, it requires a lot of talks, negotiations, and operators' approval. Because, as I said, there is no special law that we could force them to sign that agreement. But because of that bad press we as a city have, and they also have it, okay? So the pressure was so high that they agreed to sign that because they just wanted to get rid of that bad press. And what is that? What that agreement regulates? So there's a fee for space. So for the mobility hubs, they lease that space, and that space is divided. First, it was divided to 3 operators, but since this year, in March this year, we have a 4th operator, so they have to we have to split that space for 4 operators, and they pay exactly the same amount of money. I will tell what is the cost. I will tell you that later on. There's also a fee for relocating improperly parked e-scooters. What does it mean? If the e-scooters is outside of the mobility hub, we as a city have a right to relocate that e-scooters, and we pay for the cost of it, but we also after the monthly period of after a month, we charge the operators for each relocation. And in the certain area of the city center, there is an obligation for the users to return e-scooters only to the designated points. They cannot leave the e-scooters outside of the mobility hubs. Of course, the GPS is not that accurate. It's not that precise. So application shouldn't allow the user to return outside of the mobility points, but it happens. That is why, or okay, so there are some users who are very, very stubborn and they don't want to understand the rules. So they could, of course, just drop the e-scooters whenever they want. But as far as I know from the operators, so your rental, they charging for the rental until the battery is gone, until you have a sufficient amount of money on your application, and then after that they also charge probably the user for the cost of the relocation of the e-scooters. So on a daily basis, that agreement is it's well suited for our needs, and operators they accept it. So I think it works also for them. And this is the graph of statistic of relocation. So you can see what was the scale of the problem. So as you can see, it's like more than 1,500 relocation of only tier e-scooters in August 2023. Bolt and Lime, they were like, okay, their users were better in behaving how to return the e-scooters. Then there was a winter break. So our agreement, the first version, ended in November 23. And during that period, from November to beginning of the April, that was our duty as a city to relocate improperly parked e-scooters. But the problem was really, really, it doesn't exist. So we didn't do any relocation and we didn't charge them. And since April 2024, this year, we started a new agreement. There was a little bit different cost for relocation. It actually is cheaper than it was last year. But as you can see, even though the August 20, we can compare August 24 to 23, and the problem is of improperly parked e-scooter is lower. Okay, because or at least there's less calls to us to relocate improperly parked e-scooters. This is how it works. It's like even me as a city official, if I'm controlling the e-scooters companies, I have to send an email to the specified email address with a picture and a location where the improperly e-scooter is, and the company is coming and they're relocating. They have to take a picture of it. This is like a report or report. So, and the operators are actually controlling what the external company is doing. So now, not even me. I'm the one who is like at the end of the month just giving the invoice, okay, to pay for the service. So as you can see, that's the cost. In 2023, it was almost €3 per e-scooter to relocate that vehicle. And this year is at €2.5. So it's a little bit cheaper because it's a much longer period for that company who won the tender, and they decided that they could do it for €2.5 per scooter. And that's yeah.
I have one question. So the relocation fee is only paid by the user in the end, right? Because the company normally puts the e-scooter on the mobility hub space, right?
I'm like 100% sure that the user is paying. No, I mean, okay. For us, the company is paying, but if I don't know what happens next, okay? Maybe they are the one who they're forcing their own users to pay that cost. If not, that's the cost of the operators.
So you don't know.
Yeah, because that's the operator mess. So we
Okay.
decided, okay, so we have to charge the operator. That's their operation. I mean, that's their business, not ours. Okay, so they have to, you know, clean after the users. So that's not our revenue. That's the total refunds to date. So it's like, as you can see, it's like almost 55,000 euro. That's what they have to pay to us because we spent the same amount of money to pay to the third-party company who is doing that service of relocation for us. And in that agreement I've mentioned, that cost is, you know, like it's written, okay? Because first it was the tender for the relocation company, so we knew the cost, and operators, they agreed that this is not like too high and they could manage. So yeah, it's in the agreement. As I mentioned before, they pay also for lease. I mean, the cost for the lease of the space, and that's the 6,000 zloty. It's like almost 1,500, yeah, 1,500 euro per month each operator, and up to date. That's actually a revenue because this is the money we earned, but it goes to the city budget and disappears. So I don't know where that money is, but yeah, that's our revenue as a city, almost 60,000 euro in 1 year. So it's not bad. That's the mobility hubs, numbers, locations, and that red line is the border of that area where the mobility hubs are obligatory for the users, okay? That was the last year. In this year, we extended the area. Operators, they approved that, of course, and there was much more, as you can see, their numbers, okay? Last year, it was only 173 the mobility hubs. This year is 323, and our plans is like to extend every single year that area. If you know Krakow just a little bit, that's the city, I mean, old city central area. But we have also, I have to mention, sorry for that being not like a little bit stormy or fuzzy. The green area here in the middle, okay, that's the city, I mean, the oldest part of the city, and is protected by the special resolution. We call it cultural park, and by that resolution, you cannot park e-scooter inside. So we cannot even designate the special areas. So that is why everything is on the outskirts. But you can go on the e-scooters in that area, but you can pass it through, but you cannot park it. Okay, that's the main law. What else? And okay, there also a cultural park, the same space, but in Nowa Huta, and we have like a signals from the councils from there that we should do the same rules over there because they see the problem and then don't want to have an e-scooters park everywhere. They just want to have a designated points, and we will start talking to the operators and the city, I mean the Nowa Huta district councils. We will talk to them, and hopefully next year, March or maybe April, we will have that similar rules working over there. And as you can see, there's also a limit. I've showed that limit here somewhere. Okay, doesn't matter. Every single mobility hubs is measured, and the rule is that on a 1 square meter, we could park 2 e-scooters. Okay, so that is why there's a limit, and now in that area it could be parked almost 6,636 e-scooters. Of course, the operators, they have a bigger fleet of their vehicles, but they are parked outside of that area. Okay, so but in the city center, they could park in total 4 of them, almost 7,000 e-scooters. What else?
Marcin, I
Okay.
think there's a question from David from
Yes,
Jerusalem.
just
Okay.
a quick question on the previous slide with the fees. One more
With the
back.
fees. This
Right
one?
there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's for the relocation. The next one for the actual rental of the space.
Okay.
This is the monthly rent for each operator.
Yeah.
Is 1,425 for all their hubs?
Yes. So it's cheap.
So it's cheap because, but you have 58,000 euros revenue, so that means you must have many operators, right?
No, because we
No?
charge
Okay.
them. No, we charge them on a monthly period.
Oh, this is. I'm sorry. I see. It's a monthly rent.
We started August 2023. So yeah, it's.
I got it. I got it. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Because at first I thought that I did something like a mathematical
No,
mistake.
I had read it. I had read it incorrectly. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, not a problem. Anything else?
Are the companies more or less the same size as far as the amount of e-scooters? Because the price is the same.
Because they pay only for the space, so we treat them equally. Okay, we don't care how many e-scooters they have. If Traficar, the new one, which is actually a Polish company based in Krakow, as far as I know, they have the lowest amount of e-scooters. I mean, their fleet is the smallest one, but still they have the same right as the biggest players. Okay, so yeah, that's our rule. We treat them equally, and they pay the same amount of money. But if you see the relocation problem, or how badly their users park, or maybe that's the traffic car it's not the problem. Okay, Bolt, Lime, and Tier, the biggest players, they causes them the most problems, but probably they have also the most, much bigger users, okay, amount of users. What else? We use GIS, actually, these tools for, as you can see, information purposes, control, maintenance of mobility hubs. So Lucas told me that I should show you the app from the inside. Yeah, I can go there. I mean, those numbers above the points means like that two e-scooters of particular operator can park in that mobility hubs. So 2 multiplied by 4, it means 8 e-scooters in that particular mobility hubs could be parked. We should also charge them, because we have a right to charge them for parking much more e-scooters that they are allowed. But if there is no problem that e-scooters are like overwhelming the particular e-spot, we do not use that right to charge them an extra fee for that. So, I was about to show you one more thing. I mean, that map, which is also available for citizens. I hope you will see it. It's almost the same as in the app.
Marcin, also one question. Do you get the real-time data from the operators to check if scooters are not in place, like not on the mobility hub?
Unfortunately, not. We do not receive that data. They claiming that their data are like protected and they cannot share it, because actually they're not afraid of us or the society. I think this is like a part of the competition game or something like that. They don't want to share publicly those informations.
Okay, so you have to trust them in regard to how do you know when you have to relocate the scooters then?
Because the public, I mean, it's the citizens of Krakow, or the tourists, but mostly if the citizens, they are the also the ones who control the operators. If they see, I mean, the citizen, they see the e-scooters outside of the mobility hubs, they could send us an email with the picture and the location, and we will relocate right away. That e-scooters and of the operators will pay for that service. So,
okay.
So that's the stick and carrot mechanism. Okay. So,
okay, so citizens can do that, but also the authorities can do it. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
but you don't have a designated personnel going through the streets doing
I'm
that.
the one. I'm just the only one who is like,
Okay.
talking to the operators and controlling the also the operators.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem. Let me show you one more slide, which is like an extra for you to say that we also, as I've mentioned at the beginning that I was responsible for the bicycles. That was that light bike, long-term city bike rental. That was my last idea. I mean, not the last one, but the last, which is in use. I mean, they did it. So because in 2019 we have a Vavelo, which was just the regular bicycle scheme. I mean, scheme, bicycle share scheme, but unfortunately they terminated the agreement with us. They didn't have a right to use an app to manage the Vavelo. So we were like without any public rental, and we decided to go on a different path. Oh my goodness. Okay, we will go through the different path, and we decided, okay, so we will do something for the citizens, not for the tourists, and we have a long-term city bike rental. We have 500 traditional e-bikes and 500 e-bikes, and they're quite popular. Almost all of them are rented. And okay, that's it. It's like a swap fit in Netherlands and in the other cities, but that one is not a commercial enterprise. It's owned by the city, and the prices are really affordable. For the electric ones, the citizen has to pay 18 euro per month, and for the regular traditional or acoustic bike, they pay 6 euro per month. So it's really, really cheap. And the last slide is, I don't know. The last slide is about the completely free bike rental, but that one is designed for the users of park and ride facilities. We have 143 electric bicycles which are available only in that area and in those 4 spots, and you can rent it there and you can return it after a whole day of using in the same spot, or I mean the same one which you rented, or in the other park and ride facility. But most of the users, they just rent it because they arrived there by car, so they have to come back to take their car. So so they rent it from, like, for example, from this spot, and they return it here, and that's it. So if there's any questions, I will try to answer them.
First of all, thank you so much, Marcin, for the presentation.
Thank you.
For us, this is really interesting, and I will forward your presentation to my colleagues who are working on this topic, which is a very delicate topic at the moment due to Oktoberfest here in Munich. A lot of e-scooters are standing around on the streets, and there's huge complaints from everyone about it, and we are also trying to work on things to make the whole situation better. So I think Tom has a question also